episode 24.
Yeah.
And we've had like a little break since episode 23, and in that time we've hit 100 subscribers. It's all very exciting.
It is. Got a nice.
But do you know what that means?
Oh.
It means all of the OG spots that you get absolutely nothing other than bragging rights for are gone.
Oh.
But if you subscribe now, like 90% if you want, you get to be part of the first 1,000. And when there's like hundreds of thousand, people will count the first 1,000 as OG as well. So every cloud.
Yeah, it's like wave 2 investment.
Yeah, exactly.
Still an OG, but you just wave 2 OG.
Yeah, everyone else got the best rates because they truly believed. You guys are just understanding that we're going places, so that you're getting in early enough that you still get to gatekeep a little bit, but just not as much.
Exactly.
But anyway, how have you been, Hori?
Been good. It was a busy week. 2 weeks. I lost all track of what day, time, how many days it's been. Obviously I was away with family, which was really nice, getting to see everyone. And then went to London for like it was a whole week. I was in London.
Yeah, must have, mustn't it?
Rocket League was great. Had a great time working the event. I've missed LAN so badly. I've missed LAN so badly. The crowd was
teasing
incredible.
Me.
Crowd was so good. It wasn't like the crowd was not COD level crowd with chants, but the crowd was good.
I just feel like COD, because the nature of it, has more shit talk ingrained into like the DNA of it.
Yeah, Rocket League starting because that was something that kind of.
Are they realizing the eliteness of it?
Well, I think there was a lot of Reddit being Reddit. A lot of the Rocket League Reddit wasn't happy because people are starting to shit talk now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they don't like it because they all think that Rocket League's this like nice, happy,
like
go lucky,
moral high ground.
Yeah, but like this major, there was a lot of teams were playing to get their to qualify for Worlds. So there's a lot of teams where they had a lot on the line, and then you've got a player for V1's Rocket League team, Com. He loves to just stand up and shit talk. Like he's probably the most that's bringing it in. I think
I've seen a clip of that.
And like he's the nicest guy. I got to meet with him and hung out with him one of the evenings. Like sound guy, and it's like anything. Like on stage, yeah, you should talk, but like he's the nice guy. All the players get along and everything. But to the fans that like see that from that, like, oh, he's shit talking. He's like a bad person. Oh, he's this horrible person.
How
and it's
dare
like, well,
he
no
have a personality when competing?
Yeah, there's more competition now, and like this isn't just some Rocket League like happy-go-lucky game that was out a few years ago. Like there's a lot of competition in it now, so players are shit talking. But the crowd hasn't quite got to like COD level of shit talk chants. There was the odd one that tried to start but didn't really get going. Like I definitely heard the "What do we think of shit" chant or whatever.
I mean that's a staple of British sports.
Yeah.
Full stop. And bearing in mind it's just car football, I would expect a fair few football chants to kind of migrate themselves over.
Yeah, I think it's just like the shit talking isn't as prevalent. So obviously, like the chants aren't super shit talky. They're more just like.
Well, I mean, they don't have as much to take the mick out of either, do they?
Yeah, I suppose. It's one of them, but it was a great event. Had a good time.
KCP got top 6, didn't they?
Top 12.
Top 12, okay.
Yeah, top 12, but we qualified for Worlds, so it was kind of like had a rough first game. Came back, beat BDS, which are like the best in the EU, or meant to be the best in the EU. They're not. They're washed. They are. They're 100% washed. And we qualified for Worlds, and then it was like once we qualified for Worlds, it's like anything where you lose that drive a little bit. Like the pressure's lifted.
To get top 12 when your players have literally had to fly further than anyone else.
We're a minor
and like
region.
Will have had the most jet lag out of everyone else. Pretty rough.
But it's one of them. Everyone doubts Australia, but I mean, we knocked out BDS, so.
I mean, yeah, Australia doesn't have the best internet infrastructure in the world, which is why everyone perceives them as being quite bad at esports.
Mhm.
But in reality, they're just behind. They're not bad. They still have the talent there. It's just not had a chance to shine through until the last couple of
It's
years.
yeah, and it's also just
So you're
like
seeing a lot of Australians pop up in all of the esports now because they finally have the help to actually be able to compete, whereas before they were getting held back.
yeah, I mean, and it's also like there's obviously going to be hella more teams in NA to showcase talent than there's not as many like teams in
Exactly.
Australia. So it's like try and get a spot and show yourself, and the good players to come through. Like it's always going to be harder. But yeah, great weekend, great week, and then I came back to reality and definitely got some land blues. I haven't wanted to do anything this week.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that 100%. When you do something super fun, the last thing you want to do is go back to the mundane.
Exactly. But yeah, how's your week or couple of weeks been?
It's been really weird. It's felt like it's been 12 years since we've recorded, but it also felt like no time passed at all. It was really, really strange. Um, just kind of organising some bits. But no, it's been all right. Work's been a steady flow, not crazy busy, but not enough time to really just sit there and go. Um, which I think has kind of helped the time go kind of quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, other than that, I'm absolutely groovy. Um, obviously there's been a load of stuff for me to watch, yet somehow I haven't watched all of it because I'm absolutely cracked at procrastinating. But yeah, no, it's been good. Good.
Nice.
So, I think that kind of leads us in. So, for the first time in what feels like forever, I've been able to do a somewhat relevant character profile,
It's
which
been a
is
few
very
weeks.
pog. Yeah, but I think I've got a couple. Granted, I forgot to write them down, so ADH brain definitely going to just throw them out, thinking I don't need them. But I did come up with a couple of backup ones. But character profile this week's on Red Dagger, who's recently made an appearance in Miss Marvel episode 4 and 5.
Yes.
So initially I didn't realize I was going to do the character profile. I just kind of googled to see if there was anything there. There's not loads, but there's kind of enough to see the differences they've made in the MCU and maybe little teasers at what we might get from him in the future.
Right. Okay.
So Red Dagger as a character first appeared in 2016. Character 6 years old. It's very 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 young character, which is why there isn't that much there. He's originally known just as Kareem. We don't know his last name in the comics.
Okay.
And he's originally from a place called Badin in Pakistan. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. So the interesting thing is Kareem and Kamala are a lot more connected in the comics. So Kareem's mum went to school with Kamala's aunt.
Right.
And then while he was studying to get into university and he moved to Karachi, he lived with Kamala's grandmother.
Oh.
And then during all this time, he was acting as the Red Dagger at night to protect the streets of Karachi. One night, while Kamala was in Pakistan, I assume visiting family, they were both out on patrol and bumped into each other. Not knowing who each other were, just knowing each other as Ms. Marvel and Red Dagger. But he kind of realized that she wasn't from a local, and kind of said, you need to be like more respectful and careful when you're operating in someone else's territory, kind of thing. And then quite ironically, he took part in a student exchange program to bring him over to New York, where he ended up living with Kamala. Continued to fight crime as the Red Dagger. And of course, this caused him and Kamala to bump into each other a couple of times. And they both kind of worked out that the other one was who they thought they were, but they never confronted each other about it. So we can kind of see the similarities of them like bumping into each other semi-regularly and helping each other out. But so far, it's not been made evident that their personal ties or anything more. And of course, they know each other's identity now in this.
Yeah.
So it's quite different, but it's still a lot of the same stuff from the character in general. And just because we don't know that they know each other, that their families know each other, doesn't mean their families don't know each other.
Yeah, and I mean, in the show, they obviously knew of her family and the like.
Yeah, her
So
heritage.
yeah, so there was obviously some knowledge of them, whether they like actually personally knew them. I guess we don't know.
So I thought that was quite interesting. I quite enjoyed him as a character. Because there's not too much source material on him, they can have a bit of fun with him.
Yeah.
He doesn't have powers in the comics. He's like a Hawkeye-esque hero in the sense of he's just highly trained, uses his weapon, deals with street level stuff to protect the little guy, not too worried about the big problems.
Mm-hmm.
So with the MCU, and it's got like its mainstay heroes who focus on the big problems now, and they're clearly making a concerted effort to have street level heroes be TV shows.
Yep.
We might get a Red Dagger spin-off show set in Pakistan at some point. Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. If they do the TV shows right for being street level heroes, a lot of them can be shows that people don't need to watch, but they can be there for people like me and you who always want more.
Oh, yeah.
And like, none of what happens plays a big impact on what's happening in the films and the big TV shows, but it's more stories for us to enjoy if we want to.
Yeah.
But some people won't like that because it's not important enough, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, that's a different debate. Which brings us on to Miss Marvel episode 4.
Yes.
So, I mean, I've written 5 bullet points for this episode.
Okay.
I'm going to read out the 5 bullet points I wrote down, and then we can discuss the episode. So, my first bullet point in all capital letters is just Pakistan. Then we have Red Dagger, training with a question mark, incursion tease, and then time travel question mark.
Incursion tease.
So obviously at the end of the episode, Kamala gets a call from her nan, and she's like, "I saw the train 2 beta. You need to come home."
Yeah.
So they flew back to Pakistan, hence Pakistan. So she's obviously off doing her stuff, to work out what's going on. So incursion tease is when I forget his name, the not Red Dagger, Red Dagger's daddy, was explaining what would happen if they open the portal. The way the world, like the way he described the world, like coming over and destroying, that felt like a little bit similar to an incursion to me. Was that just me? Did you not pick up on that? Or
I guess I didn't associate it to an incursion because I always just think of that as we're two the same people, but it could actually it's similar.
I mean, the way he described it, of the 2 dimensions sitting on top of each other,
and
taking up the same physical space but on different planes of reality, and then crashing into each other. That's kind of what I got from that. I don't know if that's what they were doing on purpose, or if it's just a coincidence, or what. But that's kind of what I got from that. It's really weird trying to talk about this episode, having seen it followed. So obviously we get Kamala going over to Pakistan, which I think looked beautiful, and it was nice to see Pakistan in modern media not painted as a war-torn third world country. Obviously, I know we went to a big city, but still, it was nice to see it not, oh, this is their big city, but it's all buildings that are like 2 stories tall. There was legitimate skyscrapers and lots of busy traffic and stuff.
Yeah, and I kind of liked how when they're stepping out of the airport and Kamala, you kind of get that sense that Kamala's like, oh, I'm like, this is kind of feels more home-like than America. Like, you got that, they really sold that kind of feeling of like, oh, I'm not like the odd one out at school sort of thing that she has in America. Like, this is my culture. This is like home.
See, you say that, but I think they actually showed a really interesting parallel at the same time. I think so. What I've heard a lot from people who are born from two cultures,
Hmm.
like Kamala, is Pakistani in heritage but born in America, is they feel like they don't fit in anywhere because they're too American for the Pakistanis and they're too Pakistani for the Americans. And I think we also got a little bit of that with like her not being dressed appropriately for the weather and the food all being too spicy for her and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, and then wearing jeans and couldn't go in the restaurant.
Yeah. I found that really interesting because it does kind of show that kind of feeling that sometimes because of the way cultures tend to separate themselves from other cultures, when you get someone who sits in between them two cultures, instead of being accepted by both cultures, they kind of can risk being left out of both cultures.
Yeah, I get you.
Which is what a theme we saw earlier with
Kamala's friend.
Nala.
Yeah, no.
Nalia? Nala.
Something
No,
like
Nala's
that.
the one from The Lion King.
You're asking the wrong person to remember a name.
Yeah. So like that's a recurring theme of Muslims in America who are born in America sometimes don't get to fit in anywhere. And it's I think I like to take that as kind of a message of maybe we should all just realise that we're humans and treat each other a bit nicer. But there's definitely a kind of underlying theme throughout the show of no one really fits in anywhere, therefore we all fit in.
Yeah, I get you.
But it was beautiful to see Pakistan done in such a realistic way.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'm sure you've seen the meme on Twitter before of like the picture of the same street just with different color filters put on it, and it's like different locations. So it's like you've got like the gold shimmery filter put on it, Mexico, a blue kind of cold filter on it, Moscow. And with us in the recent Moon Knight and now Miss Marvel shows visiting foreign countries and then not just resorting to filming it in America with a filter, was quite nice in my opinion.
Yeah, they're definitely making a strong effort to properly represent these cultures and places.
And I think it's really important. It's going to help with everyone around the world understanding and respecting other cultures.
100%. And I think it also shows just like how much filmmaking has progressed in that sense. Of like they now understand the value of that and that they should be doing that.
Yeah. My issues with episode 3 have continued into episodes 4 and 5. Of the pacing is really not right again, in my opinion. Episode 4 felt like it wasted a lot of time just like with her trying to find the train station and then at the train station, followed by that very quick kind of chase at the end.
So that didn't feel too bad for me. I guess the bit that kind of felt off for me in episode 4 with pacing would be more like she just met, like, gone into the Red Dagger lair and all that.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, we'll do some training. And then it's like, oh no, fight scene. Like,
yeah.
Shit hits the fan immediately. It's like,
Yeah, and I know you're probably sick of hearing it as well as everyone is, but I'm sick of having to say it. It's the amount of episodes. They're not giving themselves time to flesh out all the stuff they want to flesh out.
Yeah, I mean, it's at this point it kind of has to be like I've said many times, where like they're being told you only have this many episodes.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that that's the situation, because you can tell that they obviously need or would like to be able to spread out the show more. And it's always worse to have, in my opinion, it's always worse to rush a story than to drag a story out.
Mm-hmm. People this invested in the Marvel Cinematic Universe would rather watch one too many episodes and go, oh, you probably could have cut an episode out there, than be sitting there going, we need you to make this last a bit longer to flesh some stuff out for another 3 episodes.
Problem as well is it's like we've gone from our experience of MCU is been this year-long build-up of a story and like these characters, because films are like released in such a long gaps and stuff, and the main story arc of Thanos and everything took years to do. To now we kind of expect that sort of pacing with how characters are developed, because we just kind of having a 3 years between like films is it adds to that. Whereas this, we're like, oh no, we're cramming what probably would have been years of progression into like 6 episodes, and it just feels way too quick for what we're used to.
I couldn't agree more.
And I mean, yeah, hopefully it changes. Hopefully, like, still hoping that like this means the final episode at least feels better.
Yeah,
I'd rather they cram it in now.
Yeah, overall, I think episode 4 was still solid.
Oh yeah,
it's just the pacing issues that I had with episode 3 are still there, just to not the same extreme.
I get you.
Episode 5 obviously only came out yesterday, so I have no notes on that. I'm freeballing it because I'm brave.
Do you remember how it started?
Oh wait, we forgot to say what happened at the end of episode 4. Not that someone listening to this won't have seen it. Obviously, they open up like the rip dimension, and she gets nabbed through by her great grandmother.
Well, it's not even nabbed through; she just falls through, doesn't she?
Yeah, and then she's kind of left on what looks like a train platform many years ago. Which, through the story we're being told, we assume is obviously India during the partition back in the 40s.
Yeah.
Or 50s, maybe. I can't remember exactly when the partition was. And that moves us on to episode 5. So I'm going to go ahead and say it, because according to our stats, about 40% of our viewers are American, so they won't know what we get taught in history.
Okay.
So obviously America like to think they're the entire world, but in the grand scheme of the world, they're very young, whereas a country like England is ancient. So obviously we can't be taught all of our history.
Nope.
But the fact that I didn't even know that England was behind like the India-Pakistan partition until I was like 18 is embarrassing. I think as a country, that's one of the worst things we've done. And to know that like someone Kamala's age who would be like a little bit younger than us, bearing in mind the MCU's ahead, would have a grandparent who was a child during partition, shows how recent it was that like it should be something we know about. And it's one of them things in our history that makes me a little bit embarrassed to be British at times.
Do you know what it is? And it just shows the problems with any country's education system, in my opinion, is they will always teach the history that
makes you look good.
Yeah. They will always teach you the history that makes you look good so that you feel proud to be from the country that you're from. Our history lessons were always crammed full of winning World War II.
World War I, World War II.
Yeah, and just the things that then produced technology-wise and whatnot, and all the success we came from that. What they don't tell you about is how we took over almost all of Europe and just stole everything from them and forced our control onto everybody, and then just left them in ruin. And India being one of them, and the partition being one of the things like you sort of learn about, but don't actually ever get taught the proper details, unless maybe you did like history at uni or something, and maybe you would learn it then. But yeah, for the most part, a lot of us don't know at a young age. I remember learning roughly about it, or knowing about like the fact that we left everything in a shithole. Maybe not necessarily like loads of details on the partition, but it was interesting to have, because it rarely gets shown in films as well.
Yeah, it's not in Western media. The partition is not a big bit of history because it didn't directly affect white people.
Yeah, and not even the partition in particular, like just any of like the British rule in India and stuff, and like there's plenty of films about World War I and World War II, obviously, but it was interesting when I was watching the episode. I was like, I feel like this is one of the very rare times where we've been seeing like the British be shown in a bad light.
Yeah,
and being the enemy.
Happen very often at all.
And I liked it. I liked that change of like, look, we're not going to hide away from the fact of what the British did and try and make it seem like it was better than it was. They're the
Exactly.
bad guys in this, and we're going to show them as the bad guys.
Yeah. And I mean, not that it's nice to see your country painted in a bad light ever. Hopefully, it allows us to realize the bad stuff as a country we've done, so that we can try and be better.
You would hope.
Anyway, so episode 5 starts with Kamala on, back in the late 40s, and
Then
it basically straight away goes to
it cuts back even
Aisha.
further. Yeah, it goes
Yeah.
back in time a bit more.
So we see like a little, I guess you'd call it a village. It didn't really give me commune vibes. It just seemed more like a village at that time. Of what I can only assume were mainly Muslims, based on like the fact they were discussing like the violence that was going on and how they have to try and stay united as a community and stuff like that.
I got a sense it was a bit mixed.
Yeah, but like towards the end of when mixing of Muslim and Hindus was still like being fought for.
Yeah.
And then a man with a limp goes out and sees the woman kind of hiding in the bushes. Who we obviously recognise as the lady we've been seeing, or Kamala's been seeing rather, which we've been led to believe the whole time is Aisha.
Yeah, and the moment when we saw them doing the excavation thing.
Oh yeah, and the flashback, true. But I don't know about you. Maybe it was just because my brain was acting a bit slow, but I didn't instantly assume that was going to be Kamala's great granddad.
I didn't when they first interacted, like when he went out and spoke to her. But then it was like, as soon as she decided to go
with him,
yeah, she turned over to his place and had some food. I was like, oh, this is gonna be granddad. This is where this story starts.
Yeah, this is after they found the bracelet. This is where she realizes actually Earth isn't so bad and there could be good things here.
Yeah, it was like that initial thing. You're like, oh, this is gonna be someone that's gonna help her. Then it was like, literally the next thing. You're like, oh no, this is the start of a love story.
Yeah. Then we get the little jump forward to Sana being quite young.
Well, yeah, we get the jump forward to her being pregnant, don't we?
Oh yeah. We get a small jump forward to her being heavily pregnant.
And you're like, okay, they've settled. She's like settled down, and this has become a thing.
She's decided that she's staying, and blah blah blah.
Yeah, and then there's the cut forward to when she's.
Oh, when she's still pregnant, we see the beginning of like the disintegration between the two communities, don't we? The gentleman comes in and he's like, the Hindus won't even serve me because I'm Muslim anymore. My wife's pregnant. How am I supposed to get food for her? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, we saw the beginning of the tensions being caused.
Yeah. Then we get another little jump forward when stuff is clearly getting really bad. And like he's desperately holding on to not agreeing to the partition.
Yeah, and we've also then just had the first interaction with Aisha and oh, I forget her name now. The other Jinn.
Yeah. She comes and meets her and says, we're doing this and we're doing it tomorrow. I don't care what you say, we're going home.
And quite clearly have been trying to track Aisha down.
Yeah. So then she kind of goes and tries to convince Hassan that, oh no, it's too dangerous to stay here because of the partition and all the violence. So let's just go now and try and get ahead of it.
Yep.
So then we're obviously going to the train station. You've got Hassan struggling to keep up on the way there because of his bum leg. You've got Aisha terrified about the other Jinn coming to find her.
Mm-hmm.
And Sana obviously just being a little child in one of the scariest times in India's history.
Yeah.
We then get what is like, it's an uncomfortable scene, but I don't know if it's because of the way it was shot or the story or the speed of it, or if it's a little bit of everything. I don't know if they wanted it to be the kind of uncomfortable I felt it, but that kind of interaction on the busy train station, or at the busy train station between Aisha and the other Jinn, it felt really uncomfortable. And I can't work out if it was supposed to be.
I don't know in what way uncomfortable.
I don't know. It just kind of felt like I'm really struggling to describe what I mean. So like we're sitting there watching, like when you're watching a scene, you either get like you're either half watching it, or it's like you've invested in it so much you're like locked in and you feel like you're there. It kind of felt like I was there, but they were trying to push me out of it. If that makes sense. It almost felt like they didn't want you to watch because it was supposed to be so heartbreaking, but they weren't doing enough to actually achieve that.
I think it was just like I think they definitely wanted to try and sell you on the fact that like she was quite clearly trying to protect them and protect the bangle. It was more so like it was just a bit off in the sense that she just appeared and like she knew that the Jinn were there when they'd been like, no, like it's not like she'd spotted them. She just suddenly was her demeanor, Aisha's demeanor kind of changed as if she knew they were there.
I felt like they were asking me to care a bit too much about Aisha's death.
Maybe
for someone that we haven't really had enough exposure to.
Yeah, that's probably what it was.
They've given us like probably 25 minutes of character time. All of that wasn't even her.
Yeah, and they want you to get
and they want us to almost be like, oh, this is so heartbreaking. When in reality, even as she's bleeding out, I'm more worried about Sana.
Yeah, they're trying
even though we know she's okay. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're trying to sell you on this sacrifice when we haven't had chance to get like attached to why she would be sacrificing herself for this. Which, I mean, goes back to the pacing thing, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was like, I think it was around that point when I kind of started to clock that it was going to be Kamala
that saved her.
Is the one that produced the stars for her grandmother.
Yeah.
Which then just opens up a fucking time loop of like brain fuckery.
Never fuck with time travel. They worked really hard in Endgame to explain how time travel works. But now I'm not sure, because I haven't had enough time to process it yet, if the way they've done it in Miss Marvel actually fucks with the logic they've already groundworked. I don't know if it does or not. I don't particularly care. I'm just gonna move on with my life.
Yeah.
But I did quite enjoy the Kamala's first real act of heroism.
Yeah.
She's in a strange place at a strange time. She doesn't know what's going on. She's still a child who's just found her great grandmother who she never met bleeding out. And she's got to think on her feet and try and save her grandmother. And she doesn't know if she's going to be able to get home or anything.
Yeah. And also something like, it was obviously intentional so that you could always pick her out in the crowd, but it was very, they made it very clear with the way that they shot it in outfit choice to make it so that Kamala was quite clearly out of place. Because everyone's in like pretty neutral toned clothing. Obviously, like the color palette of the time is quite neutral to try and sell that it's like in the past.
Years ago, yeah.
And then she's there in like a red, and then the turquoisey sort of like that over vest thing that she was given by the Red Daggers. Like she very clearly stands out in the crowd, but yet no one's paying attention to her.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
But it definitely was, I think, for them to try and sell that she was not where she's supposed to be. But then, yeah, like she uses her abilities and thinks she's failed when she drops her, but then obviously it like shatters and turns into them stars, of which I couldn't. So to me, I was like, has Kamala done that, or is that her grandmother that's accidentally doing that?
I don't know.
Because her like her
You would
grandmother
assume her
obviously,
grandmother has some ability, yeah.
yeah, and it's like maybe there was something there, but it was very cool how they did it, and I think that's when it like opens up now. The first thought I had was like, does this now? Because one, is it always been Kamala, and it's like a loop, or two, has this caused a branch?
I wouldn't even know at this point, honest to God. Um, so obviously she then comes back to real life.
Hmm.
And she's like trying to. So here's the really funny thing to me, and I have to point it out, and this isn't a slight on the show in any way. This is just how media is done, and how it is always done, how it always will be done. But the notion that her first instinct, when she doesn't really understand how her powers work, what this gap in space and time is, or anything, is just to shoot her powers at it, is fucking brilliant.
Also, note that when she landed, 0 time had passed
Yeah.
while she was gone. Just like I'm pretty sure how it worked for Endgame.
Well, I mean, like they purposefully return to the same time.
Well, yeah, but it's like similar. I think they did that. Obviously, did that on purpose so that like things carry on in the fight that was going on. But I think also it helps line it up with what happened in Endgame with how they did time travel. It's like your brain automatically goes, "Oh, she's time traveled," sort of like linking patterns.
Um,
But yeah, she just shoots a power straight at it like it's gonna do anything.
yeah. But then we get no real fight scene.
No.
You just get the Jinn who are still alive after not dying at the end of the last episode try and go through the portal. One dies. And then she's like, don't go through it. Don't leave Karma on. Help me close it and I'll bring you two together. And then she tries to go through it anyway, but says Karmran's name while doing it and dies anyway. And then we see something fly off. And that's really confusing to me. I have no real understanding of what that was supposed to represent.
Okay, so the way I read that as was she realized, like, Kamala got through it and she realized she had to save Cameron in the way of closing it. And obviously, whatever knowledge she has of how the veil works, I got the sense of she knew that she could use her Jinn powers and sacrifice herself to close it. That's why she jumped into it, because as she gets turned to stone and then crumbles, like there was like a explosion of her power, which yes flew off and found Cameron, which is obviously like a passing of. Well, I just read that as it's her son. It's like gone to find the next.
Yeah, maybe
person like in line, sort of thing. And
I also think
that sacrifice
for what I think is going to happen. Of they're going to cop out of the bracelet strategy and just give Kamala powers outright. Because Karmran's now got powers outright. Which look very similar.
So I think you're right in that the bracelet won't matter. I don't think her powers are going to
change the style.
No,
but they get rid of the whole she needs the bracelet for the powers for sure.
Which I mean, I feel like that was probably their plan always.
Yeah, quite possibly. But it's interesting, and I wonder if that's gonna also be used to explain her becoming more powerful. Because like when Thor lost Mjolnir and realized he didn't actually need Mjolnir, he got more powerful. I wonder if they're gonna go the same route. It's like the bracelet's like training wheels, and now that you understand your powers, you can be even more powerful, kind of thing.
Probably. I'm interested to see if Cameron is good or bad.
Yeah. So when he went to see Bruno, I assumed he was going to hurt Bruno. But then he was really nice to him and was just asking for help. So now I'm not so sure. But I mean, it kind of leaves us in the same pickle we've had with every other finale of a Disney Plus show, just in a different way. Before, there was too much for us to uncover and sort out before the end of the episode. Now they've got to set up a whole story and close it all off in one episode.
I think what we're going to end up with the finale is... Because obviously episode 5 ended with Kamala's mum now knows and believes grandmother, and it's kind of like family reconnected, all happy.
Yeah.
Love that. I honestly think the finale is gonna be Kamala and that'll obviously head home. She'll go find Bruno to explain shit, and then find Cameron there and find out he also has powers. Explain what happened to Cameron's mum. And then it's just, I don't think there's going to be like any. Maybe they'll fight a little bit, the two of them, and then because he's not happy that like his mum died or something.
I just think a 40-minute episode of wrapping stuff up is a bad idea.
I think it's just gonna. I feel like they're gonna introduce something that sets up another season of Miss Marvel.
They had better. If it is just 40 minutes of pure like wrap up stuff,
No,
it's gonna get torn to pieces.
It will end with some reveal of either someone new, or do you know what? Actually, I think will happen. She'll go back. They'll wrap up all the things that have gone on and all that interaction and stuff, and then the DOAD or whatever is after Cameron, and he just hit one of their drones with powers.
Damage control.
Yeah, I think it's going to end with either. It's going to end with them being the enemy. I think the episode's going to end with they're both being hunted by damage control, or they get captured.
I'm not necessarily sure it ends like that. I think they are the combat for the episode. But it'll be interesting to see. We've also still got to get Kamala's full suit, which they've slowly been teasing, with the mask and then the red dagger giving her his scarf, which she wears around as a scarf, and her necklace breaking to look like her logo.
I think Bruno will give her outfit and say, "Yep, see you later. I'm off to college."
Yeah, I reckon it's right at the very end of the post-credit scene. We maybe get like
it'll be his gift as he leaves.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think they'll set up whatever enemy it is. I don't think there'll be any like big setup to what it is. It might just be like, oh shit, this person's enters and they're like, you're like, oh, that's going to be next season.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how this wraps up though, because this isn't a position we've been left in before with a Disney Plus show, and it's either going to be really good or it could be the worst.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
But we'll see.
And
that wraps up our Marvel discussions for the week. Kind of. There's more later, but new stuff. Now we're on to the boys,
which I still haven't seen.
Yeah. Hori's still millions of miles behind, but we don't give a fuck because you love it when I talk to you about the boys, don't you, Hori?
Yeah. I'm so like clued in on what the hell's going on.
Okay, so
I follow along so well.
We recorded 2 weeks ago exactly. The very next day was the next episode of The Boys. So I've had to write like loads of notes on this because there was going to be another episode in the meantime, and like 2 weeks from my memory is just not going to work. So the Boys episode 6 was the Herogasm episode.
Yes.
Now I'm going to throw this at the front. The marketing for this was genius. The episode was phenomenal. We were lied to.
Oh.
They made it seem like this was going to be the most outrageous episode of TV that has ever existed.
Yeah.
And that the boys were going to push their own limits with what they've got away with.
Yeah.
They did nothing in this episode that they haven't done in other episodes, in my opinion.
Oh.
It was just for the entirety of the episode instead.
Oh.
So they went for more consistent weird shit instead of new outrageous shit.
Got you.
Fortunately, the story, and instead of just like gore and sex and ridiculous shit for the sake of it, They went, we're going to have loads of weird shit going on, but we're going to have a fucking banger story for you guys to get your teeth into. And that's what it actually is.
Right, okay.
And it is one of my favourite episodes of any show ever. It is so damn good. But we've got a lot to go through. So what we get at the beginning is we get Homelander and the boys. No, not the boys, the 7. Going over security footage of Superboy going in to kill Crimson Countess. And they all go collectively, oh shit, that is Soldier Boy. He's alive and kicking. And Homelander, not literally, figuratively, shits his pants. Because, like, Soldier Boy's legit dangerous and he's going around killing Supes and Homelander's a bit scared. We also get to see the inner workings of Homelander in a way we haven't before. So we get a scene very similar to the Sam Raimi Green Goblin scenes.
Oh.
Yeah. But instead of it being Norman the businessman and the Green Goblin, it's Homelander being an arsehole to Homelander. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we kind of get like Homelander, who's like this little needy baby who just wants to be loved and admired, and Homelander, the sick, twisted fuck, who just thinks he should be able to do whatever he wants.
Right.
So you, like, as I've said a number of times, Homelander is just a big fucking baby who wants to be loved.
Yeah.
That it's literally like the extreme of that versus the extreme of him being an arsehole, having a conversation.
Right. Got you.
And it's really, really interesting because he's like legitimately bullying himself. Holy shit. I've just realised reading my notes that I made a fucking brilliant observation that literally got confirmed in the next episode. I'm fucking unreal. Everyone like and subscribe for how cracked I am.
Agreed.
So throughout the episode, as they're getting ready, we kind of see that Soldier Boy is like suffering a little bit mentally. You kind of get the impression he's got PTSD.
Okay.
It's not explicitly stated at any point in the Herogasm episode, as far as I can remember. Based on the way I've written this note, that seems like a me observation.
Okay.
Just in like him not being sure about stuff and being uncomfortable and kind of reminiscing about the good old days. And what we kind of get is 3 teams over the course of the episode.
Right.
That we're like checking in with. Oh, actually, no, sorry. I wrote my notes in the wrong order here. After the 7 realise Soldier Boy's alive, we get Homelander talking to Noir, going, you used to work with him, what do you think he wants? And obviously Noir doesn't talk. And he's like, I'm so proud that I can rely on you. You mean everything to me. I'm glad that you're on the team with me. So Homelander walks off feeling really proud of himself because he's being a good team leader. And then Noir gets into an elevator, cuts his arm open and removes his tracking chip and runs the fuck away. Because obviously Noir was on a team with Soldier Boy. He don't want to fuck with that shit.
Yeah.
And what that leaves us with is 3 teams for the episode.
Right, okay.
You've got Huey, Butcher and Soldier Boy. Mother's Milk and Starlight. Deep and Homelander.
Right.
So what you've got is you've got Huey, Butcher and Soldier Boy who want to go and find more of Soldier Boy's old team that betrayed him and kill them so that Soldier Boy will help them kill Homelander.
Right.
You've got Mother's Milk and Starlight who want to stop Soldier Boy because he's unhinged and dangerous and Huey and Butcher shouldn't be trusting him.
Understandable.
And then you've got Deep and Homelander who want to track down Soldier Boy and work out what the fuck's going on.
Right.
So then the next kind of thing is we get the Deep going to visit the TNT twins who were part of Payback, which was Soldier Boy's team.
Right.
Because they kind of worked out that he was offing his old friends. And Homelander said to Deep, it's a long shot. Go see if the TNT twins know anything.
Mm-hmm.
When Deep gets there, he hears loads of people having sex inside, and he kind of invites himself in. And that is the
Wow.
Herogasm Festival.
Ah, I see.
And then we cut away from that. So that was kind of like a tease for everyone. Because, like, the scene literally ends as like, oh, it's Herogasm. Do you want to come in? And Deep's like, yeah, okay. And then it cuts away from that. And I could just imagine a lot of people collectively going, oh, you fuckers. So then we cut to Homelander and Starlight in an interview on Vought TV, which is basically the reporter going, is it true that Soldier Boy's back? Should we be scared? Do you have this under control? Blah, 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 blah. And Starlight is still trying to play it safe and be like, we've got this under control. We're going to deal with this. We're going to find him. It's going to be fine. And then Homelander just freaks the fuck out.
Oh.
Like proper Donald Trump style freak out, and that's exactly what they were going for. Like, oh, you're fake news, you can't be trusted, the mainstream media is trying to feed these people a bunch of lies, you're a terrible reporter who doesn't know what they're saying, blah, 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 blah. So then you get Ashley, who's like the human at the top of Vought without powers, basically firing the journalist live because it was on Vought TV, which is hilarious. And then Starlight goes back up to her room just in disbelief at what's happened. And Victoria Newman, who was Huey's boss, who was also the head explodey woman, comes in to meet her.
Right.
Now, at this point, Huey's like still pretending that he doesn't know what Victoria is, so keep it hush hush. And she goes, oh, have you seen Huey? He's still not back to the office. How's his arm doing? She's like, oh no, Huey's fine, he's getting there. He's like, oh, I thought he was worried I'd blow his head up. And Starlight kind of looks at her like, wait, what the fuck? And she's like, you think I didn't work it out? I'm not a dumbass. Which was quite funny.
Oh.
So Victoria basically tries to sell Starlight on the idea of, hey, I'm powerful, I can get Homelander to kind of leave you the fuck alone.
Mm-hmm.
And we can try and do some genuine good. Yes, we'll have to do it the dirty way, but we'll try and do some genuine good to improve the world.
Yeah.
And Starlight's like considering it almost. And then she just kind of has a moment and she's like, you know what? No, fuck you. I'm not playing the dirty game and breaking all the rules just to maybe improve the world slightly. Homelander needs to be fucking dealt with properly kind of moment.
Right.
And she like storms out to go meet up on Mother's Milk again. Back to Kamiko and Frenchie's storyline. So obviously Kamiko got fucked up by Soldier Boy, lost her powers, was in the hospital trying to recover.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the previous episode, her and Frenchie had kind of decided they were going to run away together. And then Frenchie got kidnapped by his old boss.
Right.
Kamiko has then been kidnapped by her, by Frenchie's old boss. And what we get is, actually, in my opinion, the most disgusting scene of the entire show. And it didn't even happen at Herogasm.
Oh, that's disappointing.
So we get Kamiko and Cherie, who was Frenchie's ex-partner, I guess, tied up. And Frenchie with like, you know, like a bike lock?
Mm-hmm.
And a metal pole. And his neck, so like he had no wiggle room.
Mm-hmm.
And he clearly had the shit kicked out of him.
Mm-hmm.
And basically his old boss was like, you choose which one dies.
Oh, nice.
And obviously Frenchie's like, no, don't do this, kill me, leave them alone. Because Frenchie is a good guy at the heart of it, despite doing some fucked up shit. And then basically an opportunity presents itself, and Kamiko manages to get free and slit the throat of one of the guys in front of her. And it leads to, like I said, a fucking brutal fight scene. And like at the end of it, you get Kamiko, because obviously she's not got strength anymore. So she can't just like kill them easily. She's on top of them. Oh, sorry, the guy's on top of her, beating the shit out of her. And you don't see the punches landing, but you just hear the most disgusting sound of the blows landing.
And the crunch.
Genuinely, like, you see how I'm sitting now, this is how I was watching it. I was like,
Oh, lovely.
Because like you need to hear what's going on, but like you don't want it that close to your ears. And she manages to get him off, and get Frenchie out. But they're both literally cut to pieces, basically on death's door. Because you've got to remember, like Kamiko was basically dead 48 hours before this,
Right.
and she just had to fight off like 3 people 4 times her size with no superpowers.
Oofed.
Yeah.
Big oofed.
Sorry, I've just seen one of my next notes. We got the story as Mother's Milk and Starlight are traveling to the TNT twins because they've worked out that's probably where the Soldier Boy and Huey and Butcher are going next. We get the story of Soldier Boy killing Mother's Milk's family.
Okay.
And also how that caused Mother's Milk's OCD.
Okay.
So, he heard a ruckus outside his bedroom window, and it was Soldier Boy dealing with some people in the street. And he went and woke his granddad up and pulled him over to the window to see what was happening. As that happened, Soldier Boy threw a car at their house that went through and killed everyone but him.
It's not ideal.
And that trauma is what triggered his OCD of him having to put everything in the right place, because if something's not in the right place, someone could die.
Right.
Which I think was a really interesting way of showing how trauma can manifest. And that's like a very realistic way of it manifesting, obviously ignoring the superpower element, but that idea of I put someone there and they died because of it could definitely manifest in that kind of way, I feel. And then we get Mother's Milk and Starlight turning up at the TNT Twins door. All I've got about this interaction is a direct quote.
Oh god, okay.
Yeah, it's fucking brilliant. And I saw this quote get mentioned a lot on Twitter as well afterwards, which was really funny to me. But I wasn't the only one who thought it was fucking ridiculous. It's basically Starlight knocks on the door and she realizes pretty quickly what's going on. But it's not the TNT Twins who come and open the door. It's this Russian superhero whose power is he can imagine Mr. Fantastic, but his stretchy power only works on one particular part.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah, okay, cool. If you don't understand what I'm saying right now, stop listening. This is not the kind of stuff you should be listening to. So then obviously he recognizes Starlight. So he's like, brilliant, an A-list superhero, come on in. But he doesn't recognize Mother's Milk. And he's like, who the fuck is this? And she's like, oh, I brought him with me because he's really good at oral sex. And this is the direct quote. He just gobbles that vagina right up. With this action.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Now you've also got to remember, we're going into a fucking sex orgy right now with a man with OCD that is also centered around cleanliness.
Well, he's gonna have a hell of a time.
Exactly. And this is a recurring quote throughout the Herogasm segment of the show, where every character individually who knows Frenchie just goes, Frenchie's going to be so bummed he missed this. He's always wanted to come to Herogasm. So then we get the sex party. And I've got a lot to go on here. God. So just bear with. So we get another cameo from Termite, who was in the very first episode where he blew up the lower half of his lover. Yeah. So there is a woman naked on a sofa, clearly being pleasured. And then you hear a little pop, and then just Termite appears covered in goo. And puts his hand on Mother's Milk's shoulder.
Oh, lovely.
And Mother Milk's like, oh, what the fuck, dude? So then it
Lovely.
So then he goes over to some double doors looking for somewhere to clean up. And he opens them. And this is the bullet point I wrote down for this scene.
Oh, God.
Mother's cum shot.
Oh, no.
Basically, he just gets hit by...
Yeah.
Yeah, but like it's a mega.
Right, yeah.
It's not like a normal one. It like covers his entire body.
Of course.
My next bullet point is simply genuinely never seen so much full frontal nudity.
Fair.
Like literally, it's got to be a record for like obviously discounting porn.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Literally, no one in the house is wearing clothes. Everyone's just walking around butt arse naked.
God, that must have been some wild
It
fucking
was
shoot for the cameraman.
outrageous, and I can only assume a lot of the actors they got in for this
Of porn
were
stars.
OnlyFans models and stuff. There was probably some porn stars in there as well.
God.
I didn't write much else about like the sex scenes going on, but one key one to remember is someone with ice-based powers made a dildo out of ice. And some stuff like that.
That just sounds painful.
We also then get Starlight walking in on deep fucking an octopus.
Sure, why not?
It's exactly how it sounds.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Deep has no trousers on. The octopus is just latched around his waist.
Yeah, of course.
Then we cut to the outside of Herogasm where we see Soldier Boy, Butcher, and Huey like setting up to break into the TNT Twins' house. And Soldier Boy's pissed off because he's like, them fuckers continued Herogasm without me. I invented this. Huey manages to convince him, instead of just going in there and blowing everyone up, which is also going to kill a lot of people, to give Huey 5 minutes to go in there and find the TNT Twins so that he can make sure the area is safe for him to come in and kill them without hurting anyone unnecessarily. Which Soldier Boy reluctantly agrees to. Now, here's the really funny thing. Because of Huey's powers when he's on 10th V, when he teleports, he loses all his clothes.
Perfect, then.
So he teleports in and literally no one even bats an eyelid. Because it's someone using superpowers and his butt ass naked. No one even gives him a second glance. A couple of people invite him into having sex, which he says no to. And he grabs like, what do you call like the Japanese style robe that you wear?
Kimono.
So he grabs one of them and puts that on. Where are we at now? He then bumps into A-Train, who is looking for Blue Hawk, who's the racist superhero who paralyzed his brother at the end of the last episode. There's so many ongoing storylines, which is why you need to watch the fucking show. So Blue Hawk was being racist in A-Train's neighborhood he grew up in and beating the shit out of black folk.
Right.
A-Train was like, get this fucker to come apologize. Blue Hawk agreed to go to the local community center and apologize. And then when his apology was like a YouTube apology in its quality, and the audience was like, hey, fuck you, he started clotting people about and paralyzed A-Train's brother.
Okay.
So A-Train went to Herogasm to confront Blue Hawk. And Huey bumps into him. And Huey's like literally about to kill A-Train, like with the look in his eyes. And he has powers now, so he can do it. And he's like, you never apologized for killing my girlfriend, which was Huey's motivation back in season 1.
Right.
And A-Train looks like he's about to have it out with him. But instead, A-Train realizes because of what he's going through that he should apologize. So actually apologizes.
Oh.
And it's really interesting because you kind of see Huey's eyes understand it, but he still kind of looks angry. Because in his head, he's decided that he's about to kill him anyway, but now he's not justified in that anymore. At this point, Starlight bumps into Huey.
Right.
Yeah, Starlight bumps into Huey and is like, what the fuck are you doing here? No, what the fuck are you doing here? Blah, 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 blah. And they start shouting, at which point Soldier Boy walks in. Huey, realizing shit's about to go south, teleports them both out. Which leads to a very funny scene. You don't see anything, because obviously they're the main actors, so they don't have to get actually naked on the camera. But it leads to them both standing there naked in the middle of the road next to a car, having a massive argument about Huey's hero complex. Which is just, it's really weird seeing people completely exposed having such an important
Yeah.
conversation. It's just a
don't
weird
care.
one. You never imagine yourself having the important conversations in your life but arse naked.
Well,
I mean, maybe
it
you do. I
happens.
don't know. So this leads to then the coup de grace of the episode, and quite possibly the best 15 minutes of TV ever.
Mm-hmm.
We get Mother's Milk and Soldier Boy's face off,
Mm-hmm.
and it is some of the coldest shit I've ever seen. Mother's Milk, without even blinking, sees this motherfucker and tries to gas him with the knockout gas that they thought the Russians were using on Soldier Boy. So he's like, oh, this will work, sweet. Soldier Boy picks it up and inhales it like it's a vape.
Oh, what a absolute Chad.
Such Chad behavior is unreal. And then throws it away because he's done with it. And then obviously MM's like, hey, motherfucker, you killed my family. And then this motherfucker turns to him and goes, which one?
Ooh, burn.
At which point Mother's Milk kind of like gets ready for a fight, very understanding of the fact he's probably going to die, but he's like, fuck this guy, I'm fighting him anyway, because Mother Milk is also a fucking Chad. And the actor who plays Mother's Milk in this episode is fucking phenomenal. Some of the best acting I've seen.
Okay.
At which point Butcher walks in.
Right.
And he says to Soldier Boy, no, not him, move on. So Soldier Boy's kind of like, I don't really have any reason to fuck with this guy anyway. Okay, cool. I'll go do what I'm here to do. At which point Mother's Milk and Butcher face off.
Right.
Mother's Milk then tries to walk past him. And obviously Butcher's taken temp V, so he's super strong.
Mm-hmm.
And he just holds him with a hand. And you've got Mother's Milk like Jake. The Mother's Milk's like a fucking massive dude, and he's trying to walk through him, and he won't let him. And he just gives him the dirtiest look you've ever seen. And like, I think he punches him in the face. But obviously, I mean, it does nothing. But he punches him in the face. We then get the most ridiculous scene. So you've got the TNT twins who clearly fucking hate each other, but their powers are reliant on each other.
Right.
And basically, the sister is outing the brother for putting a hidden camera in the toilet to look at people's arses as they shit. The worst bit is you see the footage.
Oh.
And basically, he's like, it's a massive sex orgy. Everyone here's fine. And she's like, everyone here's fine when they're consenting. They don't know this is happening, you piece of shit. At which point they see Soldier Boy and they both, not literally again, figuratively, shit themselves. And they try and use their powers, but they're too slow. And Soldier Boy fucking obliterates everyone, is my direct quote here. So basically, he launches his nuke power, which everyone super close to him just gets instantly evaporated. But there's obviously a big explosion that sends people fucking flying in all directions.
Yeah.
But the important thing to remember about Herogasm is it is 50% superheroes and 50% honest sex workers with no powers.
Right.
So, like, a lot of the heroes will be fine because they'll be, like, able to heal pretty well and Vought will look after them. But the normal people are pretty fucked up. Which then just leads to a really uncomfortable shot of the house kind of blown up and just loads of naked and half-naked people falling out with, like, limbs missing, blood everywhere, blood-curdling screams. Like, really horrible.
Lovely.
You've got Blue Hawk trying to run away. Blue Hawk's the racist. And A-Train grabs him and he's like, hey, what the fuck, dude? You, like, paralyzed my brother. And he's like, oh, he was getting violent. He's like, getting violent? Bro, you have superpowers. And he was a little bit angry. The fuck do you mean? And he's like, fuck you. You're all the same. So here's where you need a little bit of context. A-Train in previous years had been abusing essentially a performance-enhancing drug for superheroes. And he's at the point now where he was told if he uses his superpowers again, he may well have a heart attack and die.
Oh.
All of Vought knew this, but they were keeping on because it's good publicity to have a black guy as part of the Seven. That's literally their logic.
Mm-hmm.
But Blue Hawk says this and he snaps. He grabs him and starts running as fast as he can, dragging Blue Hawk along the gravel behind him.
Okay.
Which, as I'm sure you can imagine, leads to a pretty bloody, like, sanding down of Blue Hawk.
Good old road rash.
Yeah. So Blue Hawk's dead, and as A-Train stops running, he kind of, like, clutches chest and collapses to the floor.
Oh.
Leaving us to assume that he is dead.
Yeah.
Homelander then arrives at Herogasm.
Better late than never.
And this leads to one of the most impressive fight scenes I've ever seen without doing anything particularly special, which is the most impressive part to me. They don't break any rules or like change the game. They just do the basics perfect.
Right.
So after the explosion, got fucking flown into a wall.
Mm-hmm.
And we get Homelander versus Soldier Boy for a little while. So it starts with a little bit of verbal back chat of, boy, you're just a replacement. And he's like, no, motherfucker, I'm the upgrade. So we kind of get them going blow to blow, which is, again, really enjoyable. Then Homelander lasers Butcher. And he's like, yeah, fuck you, you're dead now. So they continue at it, and then Homelander gets back up and lasers him back.
Oh.
Which kind of gets a, what the fuck, Luke, since when do you have powers? Because obviously Homelander doesn't know that he has 10th V. Which then leads to Homelander versus Butcher for a minute.
Right.
Which was kind of cool to see. And then Soldier Boy gets involved again, and it's Butcher and Soldier Boy versus Homelander. At which point Homelander's really starting to struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And then Huey TP's in again with his dick swinging. And they managed to pin him down. And like Soldier Boy's loading up another one of his nukes to kill Homelander as part of the deal. And just before it's about to go off, Homelander pushes them all off and flies out of the roof to safety.
Oh.
So like, for the first time really, like throughout the entire 3 seasons of The Boys, Homelander's not really been seen as much of a threat to people of the same level as him because everyone is so far below his level.
Mm-hmm.
You imagine you're like a 6-year-old fighting an adult. The adult's not necessarily a good fighter, but he's still going to deal with the child because it's just bigger and stronger.
Well, yeah.
That's kind of how Homelander's been this entire time.
Right.
Now he's actually having to fight another adult.
I get you.
And going into that, everyone's like, okay, so has Homelander just been an adult fighting children, or is he still like a legit fighter?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and we got to see that he's legit still dangerous because it was taking 3 people with powers to even have a chance of getting close.
Yeah.
Then we get a shot of Frenchie kind of looking after Kamiko.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of going, okay, so what do you want to do? And then it's not a particularly long scene. It's just kind of a bit chatty after a lot of action for the last 10 minutes or so. And then it comes back to Starlight outside of the house with all of the bodies on the floor, covered up from all the dead with Mother's Milk. And Mother's Milk like, are you sure this is what you want to do? Blah, 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 blah. And basically they're doing Instagram Live.
Oh.
And like, when they do it in The Boys, you see the view counter. So they had like 300 million views. And basically she outs everyone and everything that's going on.
Oh shit.
She's like, Soldier Boy is back. Vought no. Homelander knows. He's doing fuck all about it. Soldier Boy is unhinged and dangerous. Homelander is not a superhero. He's a fucking villain. Blah, 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 blah. Fuck you. I'm not Starlight anymore. And I'm going to put an end to this.
Oh, well, that's one way to do it.
And that is how the episode ends. And like I said, obviously there's a lot going on. But the pacing is perfect. Nothing is too short. Nothing is too long. Other than the guy with a mega dick.
For fuck's sake.
It is one of the best episodes of TV I've seen. But yeah, it's not as sick and twisted as they wanted us to all think it was going to be. But it was a better episode of TV for it.
Get you. I get you.
Instead of doing what they were kind of marketing as is, we're just going to have an hour-long episode of tits and gore and blah, 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 blah. It was like, I mean, there's going to be a lot of tits, but like, there's a story here.
Yeah.
But yeah. And that leads us on to The Boys episode 7.
Oh my god, that was only episode 6. My brain, bro.
Which is phenomenal. Again, they're really ranking it, cranking it up. So we find out a little bit about where Noir went at the beginning of episode 6. Because obviously he ran off. He was like, "Fuck this shit, I am out." And we find out he's hiding in essentially what looks like a Chuck E. Cheese style restaurant, but like an abandoned one.
I would hope so.
Obviously, we don't have anything like Chuck E. Cheese really in this country, but that's kind of the impression I got. It seemed to have like restaurant tables, but also a little stage and arcade machines.
Right.
I've always got the impression that's what like a Chuck E. Cheese is like. And basically we find out he's batshit crazy and is talking to animated characters, like Bugs Bunny and co. Not actual Bugs Bunny, but like that kind of style. But like we cut away before we get too much about that. Kimiko and Frenchie turn up at Mother's Milk's apartment. Kimiko obviously beats a shit. Frenchie hires shit on ketamine because he's had a shit couple of days and he's relapsed. And ironically, Kimiko spent 3 seasons deciding she hates having superpowers, but now she's decided she wants them back.
Oh, God.
Because it's her decision now, and she realizes the powers weren't what made her evil, and actually she could maybe use her powers for good, but without her powers, because of everything she's had to do for the last couple of years, she's always going to be in danger.
Yeah.
While Starlight is going to get Compound V for Kimiko.
Yeah.
Okay, what's that? Actually, there's more to the Starlight story before that. Homelander is once again just calling Starlight fake news. He's claiming that the charity she set up for homeless women is actually being used to traffic women. And she knew all about this, but she doesn't care. So he's basically trying to make her look like the bad guy.
Yeah.
So she's kind of like, obviously, in a lot of danger from Homelander himself, but also the public's not very happy with her because they think she's been trafficking people.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
So she reluctantly tries to sneak into Fort Tower to get Compound V for Kimiko because she understands why Kimiko wants her powers back. And while there, she finds out Temp V, which Huey and Butcher have been using, has so far been proven to be deadly after 3 to 5 doses. And they've both taken like 3 or 4.
Ooh.
Yeah. Which is setting us up beautifully for the final episode on Friday or tomorrow. Or today if you're listening to this, I don't know. Or in the past if you're listening to it late. Like, I don't fucking know. Episode 8. We then find out, and this is what I was saying earlier about I made an excellent read. We find out that Soldier Boy definitely does have fucking PTSD.
Right, okay.
And basically, Butcher worked it out pretty quickly. But his plan is, instead of, oh, let's keep the nuclear man with PTSD on our team, he was just like, oh, let's just give him a fuck ton of weed to try and chill him out.
I mean, it's not a bad idea.
It's not, sadly, it's not Butcher's worst plan. So, we also find out that he's a fucking fraud. So, you've got to remember, Soldier Boy is like a parody of Captain America and fought during the Second World War. But he's a fraud. The story's always been he was there on the beaches in Normandy on D-Day. He wasn't.
Was he in a lab?
He turned up 2 days later for a photo op.
Ah, classic.
And that's the kind of shit he did for years. Despite genuinely being powerful enough to help, He
He was
turned
just
up a couple of days later to be the poster boy.
classic.
We then, I've kind of skipped a lot of like the main story for this episode because actually the main bit of the story was a little bit less interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They're going after the last member of Payback other than Noir, who was like a psychic telepath kind of guy.
Right.
He puts Butcher in a coma,
Oh.
but while Butcher's in his coma, we get like a story arc of Butcher dealing with. Okay, so I forget that you haven't seen the previous seasons. So
Mm-hmm.
in season 1 and 2, we find out Butch had a shit upbringing. He got the shit kicked out of him by his dad, and he had a
Right.
younger brother who's no longer alive, but we don't really know too much about that.
Okay.
We then, while he's in his coma reliving his worst nightmare, we find out more about that.
Right. Okay.
So basically, he got the shit kicked out of him, and basically took a lot of the beating so that his brother wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he turned 18, he joined the army, leaving his brother there by himself. So his brother started taking the brunt of the beatings, but they were getting worse.
Yeah.
And then eventually it appears his brother found the dad's gun and killed himself. And Butcher blames himself for that to this day.
Yeah.
Because he's like, if I didn't leave for the army, I would have been there to stop it happening, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Not a. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a rough one. Not, like I said, not a memory he would have wanted to be reliving.
No.
During this time, Huey kind of realizes working one-on-one with Soldier Boy that Soldier Boy is not the fucking guy. And
Really?
maybe we should rethink our plan for killing Homelander.
Interesting.
Because working with Soldier Boy might actually be worse than Homelander.
Wonder what gave that away.
To the point where he finds the guy that he agreed he would help Soldier Boy kill first, and convinces him to release Butcher from this coma, because if he doesn't, Butcher will die. And then he will get him away from Soldier Boy safely.
Right.
And then what ends up happening is, of course, he releases him from his coma, and as he releases him from his coma, Soldier Boy fucking kills him. Yeah. Soldier Boy then kind of looks like he's about to kill Huey. But Butcher flashes his laser eyes. Just kind of like oi, just chill the fuck out, right? And he does. He goes back to smoking his weed.
Oh, okay.
But there's like a kind of running thing. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be part of the PTSD or just showing that the weed is making him super paranoid on top of everything else.
Yeah.
But he keeps on thinking he's hearing voices the whole time.
Oh.
Then we get. So here's the thing. I don't know if you've seen this on TikTok, but after episode 6, everyone on TikTok was like, "Yeah, Soldier Boy's not a great dude, but he's not that bad. How can they expect me to hate someone who's that good looking?" Because he's being played by Jensen Ackles, who's a very good looking guy.
Okay. Right.
What we find out during episode 7 now has everyone on TikTok collectively going, "Hey, no, fuck Soldier Boy. That guy's a douche." Yeah.
People love to switch up super quick.
And basically, the reasoning for that is Noir was part of Payback. And while he's hiding out, talking to his animated characters, we get an animated remake by these like characters of what happened. So instead of giving us a flashback, they give us this really dark scene, but done with really bright animated characters.
That's just twisted.
It's so twisted and so brilliant. So basically, we see Payback training. Noir bursts in back when he could still talk and goes, "What the fuck, dude? You cost me this movie role. How could you do that?" At which point, Soldier Boy just mercilessly starts beating the ever-loving shit out of Noir.
Oh,
Basically going, I'm the superstar. You dare try and get above your station again, I will fucking kill you.
man's got an ego.
Man is deranged and has an ego. He is Homelander. He's the exact same. Except instead of a baby wanting approval, he's a grown-ass man who is vindictive, which makes him scarier.
Yeah.
So he literally beat Noir almost to death.
Shit.
At which point, Vought gave Noir and Payback permission to try and kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what resulted in Noir getting the traumatic brain injury that means he can no longer speak.
Right. Okay.
And what led Soldier Boy to being captured by the Russians and put under.
Right.
But what we also find out during that flashback is the reason Vought decided that it was okay to do it now was because they had a replacement lined up.
Oh.
Baby Homelander.
Ah. I see.
This is where shit gets really interesting.
Okay.
We find out that Soldier Boy is Homelander's dad.
Oh.
Not long before he was killed.
Mm-hmm.
He said he was told to go to the science lab because they wanted some of his product for some tests. And it turns out that product was used to create Homelander.
Oh shit.
So here's the thing. That doesn't explain why Homelander can fly. We've only seen one other superhero who can fly.
Mm.
And who ages as slowly as Soldier Boy.
Mm.
That was Stormfront, the Nazi. Who would obviously want genetic perfection.
Yeah.
So she'd probably be down for a project like this.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if you remember me mentioning, Hori. In
Probably
season
not.
2, Homelander and Stormfront were shagging.
Ooh.
And I mean, as early as the beginning of this season, she was still giving him handjobs.
Oh.
So, I mean, it hasn't been confirmed yet. But a lot of people are pretty convinced that Homelander's dad is Soldier Boy and the person who gave the genetic material as his mother was Stormfront.
I presume they don't know.
We don't know for sure that Stormfront is the mother.
Okay.
Soldier Boy knows that he is Homelander's dad.
Oh, okay.
And he told Homelander at the end of the episode in a little phone call.
Right. Okay.
And the phone call kind of went as such. It turns out I'm your daddy, son. And the crazy thing is, if they wouldn't have tried to kill me, I would have let you taken over the mantle when you were old enough. Because what kind of dad wouldn't want that for their son?
Oh, shit.
Which is like a really weird kind of, he's so egotistical, he thinks he'd be the perfect dad as well.
Yeah. Well then.
Couple of other highlights throughout this show, this episode I'm not telling these in the order they happen. They're just other bits that happen that are worth noting.
Mm-hmm.
We find out that Maeve is still alive. She's just being held as like a prisoner in the bottom of Vought Tower.
Tough scenes.
And she's surprised she's alive. We find out Homelander's only keeping her alive so that he can harvest her eggs to have a baby.
Okay.
But she got very happy to see Homelander because Homelander has a bruise on his face.
Why does that make?
Because no one's ever made him bruise before.
Oh.
So Maeve's like, it's finally working. Someone's almost got you.
I see.
Obviously, I said Starlight's been accused of being a child trafficker.
Yeah.
as she was leaving Vought Tower with Compound V for Kamiko,
Mm-hmm.
she bumped into Homelander and basically baited him into admitting everything while on an Instagram live in her pocket.
Ooh.
So that was right near the end of the episode, but it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Ooh.
Mother's Milk punches out his daughter's stepdad because his daughter's stepdad is proper drinking Homelander's Kool-Aid and thinks that Homelander's perfect.
Ah.
So MM's like, no, fuck you, he's a piece of shit. And he's like, dude, what do you mean? He's great. You're listening to that fake news media, aren't you? You need to open your critical thinking. And Mother just punched him in the face. It was brilliant.
Bruh.
What else was there? Oh, just a small little thing. Going back to A-Train storyline. So A-Train didn't die. They managed to find a heart donor.
Oh shit.
Would you like to guess who the heart donor was?
I have no idea.
It was Blue Hawk. They took the heart of the racist guy who'd paralyzed his brother and put it in his body.
That's...
How fucked is that?
Yeah, that's kind of some weird, sick, sadistic game.
How sadistic? Do you know what I mean?
What? Like...
Yes!
Surely they knew, right?
Yeah, they knew. Ashley was in his room trying to sell it to him as a good thing.
What the fuck?
I know. Imagine waking up after a heart attack
Bruh.
to find out the racist piece of shit who ruined your brother's life, his heart is now powering your body.
I mean, also look at it from the opposite side and go, your racist heart has to be in a person of colour that you hate.
I just don't think anyone really takes it that way, though.
No, I know they don't. But
so yeah, that was really fucked.
Yeah, that's a bit messed up.
Yeah. So basically, the situation is now Huey and Butcher have realised Soldier Boy's bad, and not bad as in bad, but we can make it work. Bad as in shit, he might be as bad as Homelander. Homelander and Soldier Boy have realised they're related, but they both kind of still hate each other.
Mm-hmm.
Frenchie, Mother's Milk, Starlight, and Kamiko might have kind of worked out a plan now that Kamiko's going to have her powers back soon. And Noir has kind of psyched himself out and is ready to fight Soldier Boy.
Okay.
Oh, one sec. I just realised I didn't write it down because it's so insignificant.
Oh, no.
So the Deep got married back in season 2 after he got kicked out of 7 for sexually assaulting Starlight. He got married to a woman who's basically been his PR person ever since.
Right.
He tried to sell her on the idea of bringing a third into the bedroom to spice up their love life.
Okay.
Now, come on, I heard it in your voice. Who do you think the third was?
Is it the person with the stretchy appendage?
It was a fucking octopus.
Yeah.
So then we get a threesome scene of the Deep, his wife, and the octopus, which is the Deep and his wife laying on the bed next to each other, and the octopus just latched around the Deep's waist. So the Deep can communicate with wildlife. And he turns to his wife with no irony and goes, I can't remember the name of the octopus. And goes, she wants to taste you. And the octopus fucking puts a tentacle on the wife, and the wife just freaks the fuck out. She's like, no, I can't do this, I'm out. Just leave me alone, never want to see you again. Which is a very, very fair response.
Yeah. Like, what the fuck?
But obviously, and like, here's the thing, I'm not advocating for this, but the Deep's like communicating with this being and is like sees it as more than just an animal because they can communicate with one another. So he's like, it just thinks you're attractive. Like, why are you being such a weirdo about it? It's being really nice. And we're like, you're fucking an animal, you sick fuck.
Yeah.
Because like,
just doesn't make
as the
sense.
viewer, you don't get to hear the animal either. It's purely the Deep.
Okay.
So you don't even get to hear like the telepathy or anything.
Yeah.
So it's very easy. Like, it's even easier for you to sit there and go, you're a sick fuck, because you don't even get like the kind of communication.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got the finale of The Boys next week.
Right.
There is obviously a season 4 that got confirmed after like 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously it's not going to be everyone dies. I've got a feeling there's going to be a fuck ton of dying though.
Big fight.
Apparently, I haven't seen the trailer for the last episode of Actively Avoid It. Apparently, it's not like a trailer. It's like a little spot.
Yeah.
A hype 30 seconds or whatever. But apparently in one of the shots, Frenchie's putting on like some goggles. And apparently whenever Frenchie puts on goggles in the comics like that, is when he goes on like a superhero killing spree.
Oh shit, okay.
Because basically like Frenchie is like, he's a mad scientist essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And he's really good at working out how to kill a soup based on their powers.
Mm-hmm.
So like Translucent back in the first series has like he could go invisible.
Mm-hmm.
But the way it works is he got like super armor that went around his skin, but it also bent light.
Right. Yeah.
So he was basically impossible to kill when he was in that form. So when they captured him, he just went into that form and was like, haha, you can't do anything. So what Frenchie did was hide sleeping pills in his food. And then when he fell asleep, he put a stick of dynamite up his arse.
I'll do it.
Yeah, so like Frenchie's that kind of like he breaks it down, works out how to kill the super, and kills the soup.
Right. Okay.
So it's going to be a really good episode. If you fancy after we finish this binging the rest of the boys, so that you're ready for tomorrow's episode, legitimately it would be worth it. Actually, no, you've got 3 seasons, not just this season.
Yeah, no chance.
Scenes though, imagine.
No chance.
So basically, we have had 2 of the best weeks of the boys ever, back to back, and it's truly phenomenal. I cannot wait to see how they wrap up this season.
Sounds like it's been wild.
Yeah, in fact, yeah, just yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And moving on to more new content, which is, I mean, obviously, the viewer doesn't know, but we're recording this earlier than normal because I'm going to see Thor this evening.
Which I need
to
book.
Yes, you do. Odds on Hori going to see it Wednesday night, Thursday morning. So as we always do when something new is about to launch, we'll give our kind of last minute thoughts about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been monologuing for like the last 40 minutes. Do you want to give your final thoughts on Thor first?
More like the last hour. Final thoughts on Thor. I swear there was something I saw of like it might have been an interview off the red carpet from the premiere where they were talking about how there's a lot of kind of representation scenes in this Thor, sexuality wise.
Do you mean the bit where they went, "How gay is the film, Taika?" He points at Natalie Portman and she just goes, "So gay."
Yeah, something like that. And then there was also
cool.
like a follow-up question, I think, about it, and he was just like, yeah, there's lots of different scenes or something. So that's going to be interesting. Cool. I mean, we're all for representation here, so
yeah, I'm absolutely fine.
And I mean, it's going to be about so many different gods and stuff. So I mean, they're all like whatever they want to do. I'm interested to see what gods we get to see, because obviously I think it was during this break. Was it the Moon Knight director confirmed that he went and talked to like the people that have worked on Thor to figure out where the Egyptian gods fit into things and they don't overlap anything?
Oh, I hadn't seen that, but I mean, it would make sense.
There was some. Apparently, when they were writing Moon Knight, and obviously were given the free reign of like, yeah, come up with the Egyptian gods how you want to. They went knowing that obviously Thor: Love and Thunder had a lot of gods involved in it. They went and talked with them and figured out like how the Egyptian gods fit in and make sure there was no overlap of realms or whatever you want, like however it wants to be. So in that sense, then it could be interesting. I'm interested to see what gods we do get to see. If there's any that we recognize from Moon Knight, if there's any of the Egyptian ones, if there's any Jinn should rock
Yeah.
up, what Eternals we might get to see.
I'm super curious.
Especially because it seemed like from the trailer there's some council meeting of gods, so we could potentially get a lot of little Easter eggs of different gods rocking up.
I think, other than the ones obviously we know we're going to see, like Zeus, I feeling we get at least a mention of Hercules.
Yeah.
I think we get a mention of an Eternals character, maybe, and maybe even a cameo. But it'll be really interesting to see what we actually get. But obviously the film's come out today, so like the early reviews are already out.
Yeah.
Now, once upon a time, for Marvel films, when critics hated it, it was a fucking banger.
Yeah.
But now they've been about so long, critics don't shit on the films anymore.
Yeah.
Which means it's actually really difficult to know if it's a good film or if they're just nice about them for the sake of it.
I mean, I never pay attention to what critics say.
But the early reviews for Thor: Love and Thunder haven't been great. And
Which is different to the early viewing ones we heard.
Yeah. I'm hoping that means the critics are once again out of touch and people are just going to enjoy the film.
Probably. I mean, I don't actually think I've ever looked at reviews or critics before going to.
I mean, you know me, I don't actively look and I didn't click on any, but I saw headlines. Yeah. Mainly what I'm seeing is it's bright, it's beautiful, but it's meh, like it's lackluster. I saw one that said it's a breath of fresh air for the MCU, but not necessarily in a good way, which was a really weird thing to say.
Yeah, what the fuck? That makes no sense.
I don't put a lot of stock in critic reviews. At the end of the day,
most of the time they're paid to say something.
I care about all the characters. It's not like it's brand new characters. When you're already invested in characters, as long as it doesn't destroy the characters, it's probably going to be absolutely fine. I'm excited to go see it. I mean, I fucking love the cinema anyway. I would happily go to the cinema every single day of the week. So I'm going to go, I'm going to get my drink, I'm going to eat my popcorn, I'm going to enjoy the brightness, the soundtrack, I'm going to enjoy Chris Hemsworth's unpixelated bottom. And hopefully it's also a really enjoyable film and gives us something to look forward to.
And hopefully it also opens up a bit more of what the fuck is going on with the storyline.
Yeah, we're in big trouble, boys. I mean, after next week, when we've got the finales of a couple of shows and this, we're back on the there's nothing to talk about wagon.
The drought.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, it shouldn't be too long a drought because we're getting those stuff, but still, panique. So yeah, hopefully there's loads of stuff so that I can come up with a million theories that we can discuss week after week after week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure it'll be great. I'm easily pleased. So as long as it looks good, as long as there's no like glaring bad VFX, I'll be fine. I'll be happy. I'll enjoy it.
What I will say is it's the shortest film we've had since Endgame.
Oh yeah, isn't it like under 2 hours?
Hour 50.
Yeah, so it's
hour
like
50 with 2 post-credit scenes.
First time in a while we're having an under 2 hour film,
which isn't necessarily a problem.
No,
let's be completely clear. I mean, actually, you never know. It might solve some of the issues people have had with some of the other Phase 4 films, with them going, it felt like this bit was a bit unnecessary. Maybe it's just been cut down more towards what people want. Who knows? But I mean, not all films need to be 2+ hours.
I get the sense.
And as someone who would happily watch a 3.5 hour film, like if a film only needs to be 1 hour 50 minutes, it only needs to be 1 hour 50 minutes.
I'm pretty sure Christian Bale said something, did some interview and said that he filmed scenes with lots of different gods and not all of them are being used.
Yeah.
So it probably could have very easily been 2 hours, but they probably just were like, well, we don't really need him to go through every single god that he fights or whatever. And maybe we'll get it extended on DVD or Disney Plus down the line.
I mean, isn't that like the trick of a good film? Overshoot and then
Oh, yeah,
edit
yeah.
really well.
It's
Shoot everything you might possibly need.
Anything in filmmaking and photography, you always shoot more than you think you need.
Yeah.
Because it's better to have excess footage that you don't use than be sat there going, "Oh, we really could have done with this shot."
It's easier to edit 8,000 hours of footage down to a 150-minute film than it is to turn an hour and 50 minutes worth of footage into a good 1 hour and 50-minute film.
Yeah. If you don't have the footage, you can't do it. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I get the sense there's going to be lots of fights, lots of different gods. So that's going to be interesting. And I mean, it's a Thor film. It's going to be fun.
I hope so. I really hope so. Taika Waititi might be, and I'm not a big person enjoying directors, but he might be my favorite director out there right now.
Yeah, he's a great director.
So I'm really quite hopeful of what he could bring. And I mean, I can mention this because we do Star Wars news now. Did you see the thing that's going to infuriate Star Wars fans, but I just find hilarious about Natalie Portman?
No, what?
So obviously Taika Waititi is working on a Star Wars film.
Yeah.
Apparently during filming of Thor, he asked Natalie Portman if she'd like to be in a Star Wars film, to which she responded, I was in Star Wars films, and he went, "Oh shit, I forgot about those ones."
Classic Star Wars fan.
They're gonna hate that. He doesn't even know the source material.
No, I think actually what you probably find is Star Wars fans go, "How do we get to this level of forgetting about those films?"
Yeah, I thought that was really funny, and it's the most Taika quote I could imagine.
There was, what did I see? It was someone, I don't know if it was necessarily just a TikTok or someone, but someone was like requesting that can he make sure his film isn't just all American accents? Because Star Wars is like across space on so many different planets, but every Star Wars character has an American accent.
Yeah, no, that's completely valid. And to be fair, I mean, we know what Taika's like. He loves inclusivity and stuff.
I'm interested to see what character he plays in Star Wars.
Oh, he's definitely going to be an alien with loads of prosthetics on, isn't he?
Oh, and
he loves it.
Some proper, like, funny character as well.
Mm-hmm. And that brings us on to our Superhero Showdown. I know, it's that time of the week already, folks. Our bracket's doing really, really well. I don't even... we're in stage 2.
Yes,
round 2. This is the first of the villain side of the bracket.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And we have Doctor Doom versus Abomination. As standard rules apply, we are in a void of space, I guess. Nothing around, nothing they don't normally have on them, and they are bloodlusted. So here's the thing, Hori. Back when we started this podcast, we always said we know we're going to be doing the right thing when we get angry people commenting, like we thinking we know nothing, because, I mean, that's just... People on the internet never tell you when you're right, they only tell you when they're wrong. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're starting to get there with our Superhero Showdowns, so shout out to the haters.
Nice.
But we've got to make this video at least like 3 or 4 minutes so that it's worth uploading. So filibuster over. So here's the thing. In my opinion, Doctor Doom is fucking terrifying as a villain. However, if I had to fight Doctor Doom or Abomination, I'd have a better chance against Doctor Doom.
I feel like we're in the similar mindset here.
So here's the thing with the way we've set up our bracket. We don't care about who is the most dangerous per se. We're not talking about in the real world, these people have all of their resources and can plan for each other. We're talking they get dropped into a void, their only objective is kill the other person, whatever they have on them. So, like, in obviously, like, proper MCU continuity, if Doctor Doom had to deal with Abomination, he would deal with him no issue. Because he's intelligent and has resources.
Yeah, but he doesn't have those resources with him.
Exactly. He gets fucking ripped in half.
Yeah, it's one of those, it's like, if he has the time to prep something to deal with how Abomination is, like, yeah, sure, of course he's going to win. Like, the same way, like, anyone could have managed the Hulk if they had the right resources in a way. But yeah, like if you're just suddenly plopped out of your universe into the void where you're fighting, and he's got what's on him, pretty sure he's not carrying around like just by standard like ways to deal with Abomination. And Abomination only needs his fists.
Our entire bracket is predicated on basically strength, durability. That's about it.
Yeah. And like some of them have pretty good standard equipment, but rarely.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, Abomination needs no equipment. He is his own weapon, and Doctor Doom's pretty much not gonna be able to do anything about it. And
okay, so we're on the same page. Look, Doctor Doom is much scarier as a villain, but Abomination rips him in half in this situation.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just gonna end with Doctor Doom in multiple parts.
Okay, so I'm just gonna put this little disclaimer. I know it's kind of at the end. If you're watching this, we are not saying that Abomination is a better villain than Doctor Doom.
No,
we are simply saying in the situation laid out in our superhero showdowns that Doctor Doom gets clarted. Thank you. So there we go. We have our first villain going into the villains final. How exciting!
I'm trying to remember who the other two villains are.
Would you like me to tell you, or do you want me to keep it as a surprise?
No, you can tell me.
We have Deathstroke and Captain Cold.
Oh, yeah, it's Captain Cold. That got through. Interesting.
Yes, very, very interesting indeed.
Because I'm now thinking, I'm like, can either of those beat Abomination?
So, although I've tried the entire time to not think too far ahead,
well, yeah,
because we're getting down to so few names now, I'm pretty sure I've decided who's winning the bracket.
Don't remind me the names, and I won't. That way, I won't think about it.
Yeah, it's fine. And don't get me wrong, I might, as the weeks go on and I think about it more, I might change. But like the names that I'm seeing right now, I'm pretty confident. I think who I think is going to win. So yeah, that's about it from us. I mean, it's been another long episode.
It has.
But I mean, after the episode when you were getting ready to go away and all the stuff that we knew was happening in between, we knew this was going to be a long one.
Yeah, we knew there was going to be a couple of long episodes, so
exactly.
Next week we'll probably be back to like an hour.
I mean, 2 finales and an entire film. Maybe not. It'll be shorter than this, but maybe not.
Depends how good the finales are.
Yeah.
You might not want to talk about them.
Disappointing. The Boys was disappointing. Thor was all right. Next week.
Everything was shiny. I like.
Thank you as always for hanging out. Thank you for getting us up to 100 subs.
Yes.
1K so next. Now you can just type in youtube.com/cutscene convos and find us really easily. It's beautiful.
Nice clean URL.
So clean and tidy. Type it in to make sure it's working and let us know if it's not.
Just to double check, make sure you hit the subscribe button.
Just to double check, yeah. Make sure you subscribed as well. Make sure you've got the bell notification because I mean we post so much stuff. You don't want to miss it. We're literally uploading 10 videos a day for God's sake. Enjoy our content, otherwise we will hunt you down with our content.
Or you'll probably block us.
Yeah, that's it. We're going to get the entire internet to the point where they're either subscribed or blocking us.
Yeah.
And if we can even run at like a 15% conversion rate, that's a lot of people.
True. This is true.
Mr. Beast, we're coming for you.
I don't know about that. Jeez.
Imagine. No, but imagine though.
Imagine. But I think Mr. Beast would have to stop dead in the water for us to catch up with him.
Actually, has he hit 100 million subs yet? Sorry.
Wouldn't surprise me.
As always, we had no idea how to end this stuff off. We just stopped waffling, but I'm sure this is someone's favourite bit.
Yeah, I'm sure all the people that do make it to the end of an episode probably know. Oh, okay, they're wrapping up.
98.2 million. Wow, Jesus. Look at that.
We're doing the classic British thing where it's like you slap your knees and go, right.
Literally what it is.
Look, basically announced it like, we're going to end, but we had to like say something.
Is this why all the biggest podcasts in the world are American? Because they know how to end a conversation, whereas we just keep on talking forever.
Probably.
But yes, subscribe to this channel, but also mine and Hori's channels if you like video games. If you like good quality video games, sub to Hori. If you like laughing at people being bad at video games, sub to me.
Yeah, if you want a plat gamer on Valorant, watch me. If you want a
silver 1 now, Hori. I'm a big boy.
Sorry, I nearly said bronze then. So sorry, silver 1 player, hard stuck silver.
Absolute gang.
God.
Okay, come on.
On that note,
thank you so much.
Appreciate you all.
Catch you next week.
See you next week.